Game sequels. Oh, how we love game sequels, because without them, we don't actually get to be able to continue our favorite franchises that we go and we chatter about all day long, just talking about how awesome it is and all the secrets that we found and all the kick-ass characters, all the epic story events, and all the other shit. But the thing is, unfortunately, some games pretty much they just show up, they're really awesome, and that's it. There's no follow-up. For whatever reason. Sometimes it's poor sales, other times the development team just went away, the publisher lost the rights to it. Whatever the case may be, sometimes it just doesn't happen. And then other times it does get a sequel or two, and then it just stops inadvertently. No one really knows why, but again, it sucks for only one person, the fan. And that's really it. So I'm here to talk about what games you all think that there should be sequels to. Now I myself, there's tons of games that I go over all the time that I would love to see sequels to. I've even made a couple. There's Final Fantasy VII, Castlevania Symphony of Night, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I mean, there's just too many games that I could really think of, and I'm like, man, this would be so awesome to have. Hell, Road Rash. That's another game that I'd love to see a sequel to. But the thing is, of course, naturally, there's more. So I'm going to go over a couple of the games that I would like to see have sequels, because, well, fuck it, they should have them. First up on my list is Breath of Fire. Now, Breath of Fire is an amazing RPG series to begin with, but the thing is, the last one was Dragon Quarter. That was on PS2. That was actually pretty early on in the PS2's lifespan. But the thing is, Dragon Quarter wasn't nearly as good as the first 4 games in the franchise. As a matter of fact, it strayed rather far away from the other ones, and unfortunately for me as a hardcore fan of the series, it just didn't live up to the expectations I had set forth, and I was always hoping that they'd basically release a 6th title in the series and redeem themselves. Now, Capcom had a really good RPG series going with it, so that's something I would love to see them have come back. Shenmue. Now, Shenmue's awesome. Nobody in their right mind could say that Shenmue is not good, and here's why. Shenmue is just a really cheesy, funny kind of game, and I love it for that alone. It had this great big massive world that you could just walk around in and, you know, interact with all the people and basically kick a bunch of ass while you're at it. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. But the thing is, the second one didn't really receive like the same sort of praise that the first one did, and they kind of just stopped talking about it. Now, Yu Suzuki recently at a Nintendo conference actually had announced that there is a chance that there could be a Shenmue 3. So I, like many fans, am crossing my fingers and hoping that they'll really release another one, because I want to go on more adventures. Next up is Timesplitters. Timesplitters was one of the coolest fucking multiplayer first-person shooters that was released on the last gen of consoles, in my opinion. Now, the thing is, the team that made it was the same team that made the legendary GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. But unfortunately, they have not done shit with that franchise since. Now, there's been rumors here and there on the internet that they might be making a part 4, but the thing is, there's been nothing actually confirmed. So let me just go on record and say, pull your fucking heads out of your asses and please make a Timesplitters. All of them sold well, so go make another one. Make us happy. Plus, I would really like to see Timesplitters online, because the maps were awesome, the characters were pretty fucking amusing for the most part. They had tons of weapons, and all around was just like really fun to play in general with your friends. They had all types of like game modes that you could play, so yeah, that I would love to see. Einhander. Einhander was one of the sickest side-scrolling shooters I've ever played in my entire life. Squaresoft actually brought that out, and it's a franchise that they should really try picking up and running with, because I think that they could do something with it. The Einhander in general didn't really get a lot of attention and didn't really sell well, but the thing is, Squaresoft didn't really try marketing it. I think that if they would probably get something out of it, because the game, number one, was really challenging, it looked really nice, and it played really well, so why not? So, Square Enix, Squaresoft, I don't know what you guys want to go by anymore, but I think that you should, you know, make a sequel. Do that. Next up, another Squaresoft title, Vagrant Story. It was such an awesome RPG. Like, it was like nothing that anybody had ever played before, and unfortunately came out rather late into the PlayStation's lifespan, so it didn't really get the reception that I thought that it deserved. But people that actually did get to sit down and play it found that it had a really nice story, amazing graphics, really good story, a really interesting battle system, but has not really gotten anything since then. So, since it's being re-released on PSN very soon, I'm thinking that maybe, just maybe, they ought to consider doing a sequel, whether it's on a handheld or on the consoles. It should happen. Skies of Arcadia. Sega pretty much nailed it with this RPG in every single way. It was, to me, is still within like the top 5 games why you should own a Dreamcast. And Skies of Arcadia, yeah, that's definitely one of them. They actually re-released an enhanced version on GameCube called Skies of Arcadia Legends. So if you ever decide that you want to play the game because you've never tried it before, get the GameCube version. It looks a little bit nicer, has more characters, more story, etc., etc. So altogether you would be getting a lot more. So that's the version that you would want to pick up, but what we really deserve is a sequel. So yeah, Sega, do that. Burning Rangers. Now, on Saturn, there's tons of games on Sega Saturn that I've played, I enjoyed the living hell out of, but Burning Rangers pretty much is near the top of the list of amazing games on there that pretty much it's just a one-shot, this is the game, that's really it, no sequels, no prequels, no nothing, but it most definitely deserves them. The world is really cool, the gameplay was just amazing for its time. You have to take into account that 3D wasn't really like perfected back in the day, but they pulled it off really well. The control was awesome. Just all around, I would love to see what they could do with a Burning Rangers game with today's technology. So that's something I would definitely love to see. Darkstalkers. I fucking love this franchise. You've no idea. All the Darkstalkers games are fucking awesome. Okay, now if you've never played them, you may recognize some of the characters. There's Felicia and there's Morgan. They've showed up in a lot of the Capcom Versus games, which in most of those games, I ended up throwing them onto my team just because I like those characters so much. Not all the time, mind you, but yeah, I would dabble with like Morgan on my team at random. But that's besides the point. It's the fact that we haven't seen a sequel to that franchise in like years. Granted, there was the one that popped up on the PSP, but it wasn't like, you know, Darkstalkers 4 or anything like that. The last official sequel of Darkstalkers was actually back on PS1, and that was Darkstalkers 3. Downside is that they recently said that if they are going to, that they throw out this petition and they want a shit ton of signatures. And I'm just hoping and hoping that it'll actually get enough attention that they decide, yeah, I think we'll actually do it. Even if it doesn't reach enough, just to show that there's fans out there that would love to see this. So, Capcom, I hope you're listening. River City Ransom. River City Ransom is one of the coolest beat-em-ups in history. In fucking history. I assure you 100% if you've never played River City Ransom, go download it on the, I don't know, the Virtual Console or get the Game Boy Advance version. It's called River City Ransom EX. Well, if you haven't played either of those, you owe it to yourself to go and play them. Pretty much, it's a 2-player beat 'em up. You just run around, beat the living shit out of everybody, and you can level up like in an RPG, learn new moves, and there's like all these different areas to go around in. It's just so fun. Like, you could seriously blow an entire night away just playing the game and not even realize that time's going by. Me and my friends have gotten shit-faced and actually played the game quite a bit, so yeah, it's pretty fun. But all around, there isn't really like any follow-up. I mean, there was a Super Nintendo sequel, but it never came to America and never went to Europe or anything like that, which is really unfortunate. I tried a ROM of it, and I did like it, but it did not have the same quality in my opinion, which is one of the reasons why I think they may not have released anywhere else. But all around, I would love to see one done in the same exact style as the first game, but done in, well, on today's consoles. So I'm hoping for that. So somebody, please make that happen for the fans. Snatcher. Now, Snatcher was on Sega CD. But the thing is, most people didn't even get to play it. Why? Because the Sega CD was a fucking failed add-on. And that's a crime. And here's why. Do you know who made Snatcher? It was Hideo Kojima. You know, the godfather of Metal Gear Solid. He also made Zone of Enders, which more people should be playing that too. But, anywho. See, Snatcher was just an extremely awesome game, and it was a really long game too. Like, all the stuff that you could do, I pumped in quite a few hours into that game, just because it was kind of like a investigative whodunit type thing, and it's really awesome, just awesome, and they've never really ported it onto anything. I don't understand why. Well, okay, that's not true. They actually ported it in Japan onto the Sega Saturn. And they didn't release it outside of Japan, so it's not like you could really enjoy it. And apparently that version is enhanced too. Motherfuckers. But anyhow, the point is that Snatcher was an amazing game by a genius in Hideo Kojima. And the thing is, ironically, Snake shows up in the game, as well as one of the Belmonts. I think it's Simon, if I'm not mistaken. They're inside of a bar, which I thought that was kind of neat that they showed up in there. And you also get your own little device called the Metal Gear, which is kind of funny that there's a lot of references from his other games. So yeah, I would like to see this happen. So please, Konami, make Snatcher in any way, or just port it so that more people can enjoy it, so that you can realize it deserves a sequel. Either or, I would love to see happen. Earthbound. Oh, Nintendo, out of any franchise, why do you keep on ignoring this? It's like you're purposefully not making an Earthbound game just to make people like foam at the mouth until they start going into fucking convulsions and then they fall over dead just because, well, they're not getting the game that they want. But frankly, I would love to see Earthbound happen. Whether it's Mother 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever the case may be, or Earthbound 2, or whatever you guys want to call it, please make another one. Make it for the 3DS, make it for the DS, make it for the Nintendo Wii, or make it a launch title for your next console. I don't care. Fans don't care. Just make it actually happen. Make it as awesome and as quirky, as goofy as the other ones, and everybody will leave with a smile on their face. Lastly, but not least, I would love to see a sequel to Lunar. Now, the first two Lunar games, there's Lunar 1, there's Lunar 2, are amazing RPGs. I got my hands on them whenever they were released on the PlayStation, and then I actually went back and played them when they were on Sega CD. But the thing is, PlayStation versions obviously are much better because they added so much more. But point is that Lunar was amazing. I love that series, and they actually tie in together. Most sequels, they kind of just like ignore what happened to the previous game and just go in their own direction. This actually carried on everything, you know, similar characters and stuff like that, and it just made me so fucking happy. But haven't seen anything since then. There's no Lunar 3. If you haven't played either Lunar games, please definitely go do that. They just re-released Lunar on PSP, so you could go and play it that way. But as for Lunar 3, I would like to see it happen. Under one condition. One condition. Has to be done by the same team. Now, that'll probably be pretty hard to do because Working Designs doesn't exist anymore, which is a crying shame for us hardcore RPG fans, because they were one of my favorite development teams, and they no longer exist anymore. They're kind of scattered about throughout a bunch of other companies, unfortunately, but if they could band together and just make this one game, the swan song, to one of their best franchises, yep, that's one that I would like to see. So please, somehow, anyone with a magic wand and a shit ton of money, make that happen. So there you have it. Those are some of the games that I would love to see sequels to. Mind you, it's not all of them. There's like 80 bajillion more for various reasons. But I have not got a ton... Oh my god, I cannot talk. Rah, 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 rah. I'm going to be editing the shit out of this clip. So, there you have it. Those are some of the sequels that I myself would love to see happen, and I know that there's a lot of fans out there too that would love to see a lot of those sequels actually see the light of day. But the thing is, unfortunately, they fucking haven't. Well, that's why I make videos like this, because I'm going to ask all of you, what sequels would you like to see happen? Did I name off some of the ones that you guys would actually like to see? Or is there ones that I didn't mention that you think that rightfully deserve a sequel? You know, those little gems that nobody ever came across, nobody really played, but you did, and you found out it's like one of the most amazing games. Unfortunately, did not get a sequel. So what would you like to see? Is there any current gen games that you don't think will get a sequel, but they definitely should? Like Deadly Premonition? It's an awesome game, face it. If nobody thinks that, you suck. But no, seriously, it's kind of rough whenever you're a fan of something and, you know, the game that you're really into, you know, it doesn't get to carry on. Granted, some games, they're fine just by themselves, just that one title, that's it. It doesn't need a sequel because it was just good on its own. But a lot of times, it's just left open to be made into several more games, into a trilogy, or into a full-blown franchise like Final Fantasy with 8 million sequels to it. So, what do you guys think? Comment below. Tell us exactly what games you want to see sequels to. Make a video response of all the games that you want to see listed off, the ones that I may have named off that you actually like, whatever the case is. We gotta hear it, so do it.